All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Build with the CEO. My name is Trevor, and I am going to be your host for today's show. And I am the CEO of Coach Catalyst. I'm super excited about today's episode. We are doing some Q&A. I've kind of scoured the inner circle, the Facebook group, and got some topics that we were talking about in there, and some questions that people had just relayed to me personally, and want to talk through them today. So I made a little list inside of Facebook. If you're looking there underneath this stream, but I'll just kind of give you a little preview of what we're going to do, and then we'll rock and roll. So remember, these shows are always about you. So if you are live and listening, you take priority. So if you have a question, drop it into the chat. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Riverside, just drop it into the chat. I've got all the chats open, and so throw it in there, and I'll get it answered. It'll move to the front of the list. So excited to have you guys here listening. I'll give you a little bit of preview of what I want to cover today, and then we'll get to it. So again, if you have questions, drop them in. So here's kind of some of the things that I want to roll through today. So I had a call earlier this morning, and this originally wasn't going to be on this show, but this was a coach that's brand new, and he wants to kind of start coaching. And we're going to get into that, kind of what our action plan was for him. So if you're a brand new coach, that's going to be relevant for you. That kind of leads into some email marketing. I had some people asking about solutions for that, so we'll cover those. Inside the Facebook group, there's a lot of conversation about food diaries and how to keep them. So we're going to talk about how to keep a food diary with a client. Then we're going to look at some redundancy inside of your training programs and how to create redundancy inside of your coaching programs to make life really easy. And then finally, if you have time, we're going to talk about adding value. If you are a coach that's doing fitness, we're going to talk about adding value to your fitness programs and how you can do that really easily. It takes a little bit of effort, right? But it's an easy way to add some value into that program. So thank you again for joining me. Thanks for hanging out. Let's jump to it. So the first one, I had a call the coach earlier today. Let's call him Jeff. It's not his real name, but that's going to be his name for this. And so Jeff gave me his story. Essentially, he's trying to create a side coaching business. He doesn't want coaching to necessarily turn into his full-time gig. He has a nice job right now that he really enjoys, but coaching is something that he also really enjoys and wants to do some of it. So once we got clarity around what success looked like to him, it wasn't a huge coaching business. It was 5 clients. Right? Some of you may be in a similar situation where you want to coach, but you don't want to make it your full-time thing. So you only want 5, maybe 10 clients, which is very, very doable from a part-time basis. I think a good kind of frame in your mind that you can use is about 30 minutes per client per week is kind of a good frame. And so if you have 10 clients, I should probably be spending about 5 hours, maybe a little bit more. If you are doing one-to-one calls, that might turn into maybe an hour per client per week, maybe 45 minutes per client per week. But that's, doing that call with them. It's communicating with them throughout the week. It's making any necessary changes, reviewing their weekly check-in, that kind of stuff. I think 30 minutes though is a pretty nice time frame for you able to think about it. So 5 clients, about 2.5 to 3 hours a week. And this particular individual, he had 5 hours a week that he could dedicate to coaching. So it's awesome. Okay, let's spend 75% of that actually coaching people, and then the other 25% doing something else, which we'll talk about here in a second. So once we gathered all this information, I think this is important. So we are really thinking about building his business with the end in mind, right? He wasn't talking about, a 100 client business or a 200 client business or a 7-figure business or anything like that. It was just a nice side gig that provided a reliable source of income and allowed him to do something that he loved. So 5 clients. So a few other things about this particular coach: did not have a social media following, right? Really wasn't active on Facebook, just actually started a Facebook group or a Facebook account not too long ago within the last couple of years. So that isn't really big, and it just doesn't kind of live in that world. So it doesn't have that as a resource to draw upon. But in my conversations with him, and really in my conversations with most coaches in general, is we all have audiences, right? We all have audiences in different places, okay? And they're typically offline audiences. Where do we get our hair done? Where do we frequent? What groups are we part of? Do we have a cell phone that has contacts in it? Like, we all have audiences. So early on, we need to leverage those audiences that we already have. And we may not be a big social media following, and that's okay, especially if we're only looking to get maybe 5-10 clients out of it. You don't need to have a massive following to get 5 or 10 clients. I bet there's enough people in your social circles right now where you could get 5 clients. Okay. And he was a brand new coach. So he just finished his certification, loves this stuff, really did it for himself, and then now is evolving into a coach. And so for him, his first step was actually just getting reps with a client, right? He didn't necessarily need to create this long, extensive program and try and sell a program out of the gate. He just needed reps with clients. And for most coaches, the best way to get reps is one-to-one coaching. Unless you are a content expert in something and just really haven't gotten into the coaching realm, I don't know if starting with a long program is the best way to start, because one, you don't really know who you want to work with yet. So you can kind of have a vague avatar, right? But you don't really know who you resonate with. And so working with a number of people helps you to kind of define that and refine it. And it helps you understand who you want to work with or who you do your best work with. And then we can really start to dial in marketing and that kind of stuff to drive us more of those people, right? So this coach really didn't have much of anything. And so for him, my challenge to him was to get 3 clients, okay? 3 clients and beta clients. So our test clients. Don't offer it for free, but you're offering it at a significant discount to get reps as a coach. And I think most coaches early on should be doing lots of one-to-one calls. One-to-one calls aren't necessarily, I think, a scalable process. And honestly, I think they start to get redundant after a period of time, after you've had a client for more than, let's say, 12 weeks. Doing a call every week, sometimes those calls start to get just a little like, you start talking about the weather and that kind of stuff rather than really getting into it. And based upon some conversations with other really smart people in this industry, one-to-one calls actually don't get clients better results. And people don't necessarily always want one-to-one calls. But I think early on, one-to-one calls are great because they allow you to build connection with that client. They allow you to develop the relationship, and they allow you to work on your coaching skills in real time, which is really, really important. So the challenge for him was to find 3 clients. He didn't need all of these fancy marketing techniques to find 3 clients. He needed to reach out to people and let them know what he is doing. Because people know him as Jeff, the project manager, they don't know him as Jeff, the coach. He needs to introduce himself as Jeff, the coach, who helps XYZ person achieve XYZ result, right? So these don't need to be really dialed in, but we need to have some context. Who is Jeff working with? Is he working with athletes? Is he working with fat loss? Is he working with whatever, right? What are the problems that you're solving? And you just need to reach out to people because he had audience, he had a cell phone, and it's just a matter of going and doing that. It's going to be probably uncomfortable right away. And most of the vast majority of people are not necessarily going to be interested. But I think you can do it in a way that is just kind of like an update for people, right? And if you have a social media following, just doing an update on social media. I talked about this, I think, in last week's Friday email. A simple way to just let your audience know is just to give people an update on what you're up to now, who you're helping, how you're helping them, that kind of stuff. Super simple, right? And just posting that, once a quarter on your social media, because our social media is always it's always evolving, right? The algorithm evolves, people come in and off our friends list. And so doing that helps just let the people know that maybe don't know, which is awesome. But for him, no social media following. Cool. So we're going to focus on his offline stuff. And then we look at borrowed audiences. Is there anyone you have a really good relationship with that has an audience? Or is there anyone you could develop a relationship that has an audience that would fit the person that you feel like you can do your best work with? Your perfect client, let's call it. And then we do a collab in the offline world, right? You do a collaboration. Now, he's doing nutrition coaching, and this can be a virtual format, but that doesn't mean we need to discount the offline world. And then the next thing he asked about was email marketing. Should he be doing email marketing? He's watched a couple of the things that I've talked about recently, and I've been talking about email marketing a lot. But to be honest, there isn't a perfect solution. I just did a podcast with Michael Sheedy in our next our next season, upcoming for our next season, and he talked about he does 0 email marketing, and he's got a multi-6-figure business based upon his Instagram following. And so his Instagram following is big enough and he speaks to the right person. And it's not huge. So it's not like hundreds of thousands of followers. I think it's like in the 5 or 10,000 followers. But he was able to build a business off of that. And he goes all in on that because he loves creating content there. Right. I like email a little bit better, mainly because you own that media and you can deliver it and you can move it to different platforms. If Instagram shuts down or this or that, it could potentially dry things up. I like a little bit of redundancy, but also where you like to create content. So this particular person, Jeff, enjoyed writing. He enjoyed creating content. And so that was something that he wanted to do, but he didn't have a list right now. Cool. Let's start building a list. But I kind of gave him his order of priorities, right? Priority 1 was to get 3 clients, that you could test or that you could test your skills or work on your skills with, call it like beta clients, where he can work on his skills. Once he got 3, now we can shift some focus to email marketing. Because if he had 5 hours a week, all 5 hours should be focused on getting 3 clients. All 5 hours should be just focused on getting 3 clients. Most coaches will use delay tactics to prevent doing the work they know they need to do. So they might create more about their program or create content or all of these other things and feel like you're moving forward. But at this stage, it is work with people, get clients, use your current audiences to get yourself 3 clients. Get 3 clients, just make it happen. Okay. Once you hit 3, now we can take a little bit of that time away because remember, our constraint is 5 hours a week. We can take that time away, and now we can move into email marketing and start writing to your audience. Because one of the things when you have clients, having clients allows you to create really relevant content. Okay. And it makes email marketing much easier because you simply just talk about the things that you're helping your clients with right now. Okay. So something you may help your client with on a live call, you then take that concept and then you move it into an email format. Really simple. Now you can help everyone on your list. And even if you're starting with your grandma and your dad, like who cares? Like just start writing. And so that was the thing for him. And then he's going to start building that email list, starting now letting his audience know that he has an email list that people can opt into, making it really simple. And then that's going to be really his 2-part strategy. He starts working with clients. And one thing when you do start working with like a beta test of clients, you want to give it a time frame. So you don't want to say, hey, we're going to just start working together. It's going to be 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever you feel like is a good time frame. Because after that, if you've provided an incredible value to them, we do want to offer for them to continue to work with us at our normal rates. And they can say no, and that's cool. Like they've gotten a ton of value out of it. And we're trying to get a testimonial out of them, some social proof and that kind of stuff. But these beta clients could turn into full-fledged normal clients. So that's where I like 4 weeks, maybe 8 weeks. We don't want to coach these people for 6 months. Like coach them for a time frame and then let's see if we can move them into a normal coaching relationship. And again, don't coach them for free because no one values free. Right. And you can explain it to them this way too. Like if I coach you for free, you're not going to put the same emphasis on it than if you were paying something, because you need to have some skin in the game. And it's going to be a waste of both of our times if you don't have skin in the game. Right. So that's how we can frame it. And if they aren't willing to pay for it, they're not ready. And that's cool. Let's find someone else. Right. Because remember, we're limited by spots. Our constraints are we're 5 people, 5 hours a week. Right. What's the best use of those time? Now, what's the best use of that time? So number 1, we're getting 3 clients. Number 2, once we've got 3 clients, now we're going to start our email marketing. And we can take the email marketing, right? If we're pretty good at that, and then we can take snippets and maybe put it onto Facebook or put it on the Instagram to create some smaller bits of content from this larger one. And then he felt he could commit to once a week. Cool. Like that is a good start for someone that is looking to kind of side gig coaching. They really enjoy what they're currently doing, but they want to coach and help people. Cool. That works, right? Let's not overcomplicate this, and let's not use bigger business type tactics in order to accomplish it. So that's why I think it's really important to define as best that you can from the beginning what at least the foreseeable future or the foreseeable end looks like, right? What does the ideal situation for where I'm at right now look like? And then we can figure out our constraints, and then we can start to apply the best kind of tactics to those constraints. For him, find 3 clients, and then we'll start some email marketing. And once he's comfortable with that stuff, maybe we start getting into some collaborations, some partnerships, some joint ventures, some education, and other things where he go start to kind of expand his influence, right? Or even his workplace, the company that he works for, doing some stuff there as well. So if you're a new coach, hopefully that's helpful for you. Maybe you just got certified, and you're not ready to jump in full time with the coaching thing and want to do it as a side gig. I think this is a really nice strategy to do that. So if you guys have questions, if you're jumping on late, feel free to drop them into the comments. I'd love to just answer them live while I'm here. If you don't, listen along. I kind of gave a little bit of an outline, and we'll see how much we get through. I don't want this to be an hour long, so we'll get through what we get through, and then we'll go from there. So I had a question in the Facebook group. I believe it was a Facebook group, but they asked basically, what email marketing should I use if I'm a low tech type person? Okay. Which is probably a lot of coaches. And I'm going to kind of side quest here for a little bit and talk about a concept that I think would be relevant for you and for even working with your clients. And so a lot of people say they're not a tech person, which I would argue against, right? Most people that say they're not a tech person are just not willing to struggle a little bit to figure it out. And I think that can be a limiting belief. And I think it's good to check ourselves on some of these things. Saying I'm not a tech person kind of puts me into a box. And then I'm going to create behaviors that kind of fulfill that self-fulfilling prophecy, right? I'm not a tech person, so I don't get it. Which, no, like when most people start, like they don't get it. Like it's normal to have to kind of like fumble through things right away. It's a new skill, right? But how are we approaching it? Are we approaching it with a fixed mindset that I'm not a tech person, so I'm never going to learn this technology thing? I just don't get it, right? Or am I going to learn it from like, hey, I just don't get it yet, right? But I'm willing to put in some effort and some time and some energy and watch some videos and learn. I may not learn it as fast as someone else, cool, but with enough effort, I can learn it. And so checking that mindset a little bit, I think it's important even with our clients in the language that we use, right? So for the low tech person, because there are on any spectrum, right, there are different complexities of platforms, right? So as we potentially grow or have more needs as a business, sometimes we need a different platform to make that happen. So inside of Coach Catalyst, we've created a kind of a sister company called Supercoach CRM, and we created a light version of that does have an email, text message, marketing aspect to it. It's on the lowest plan for coaches that just want to do that. So that's always a choice, and you have us as your support team. So that's just supercoachcrm.com. Another one that we like that we used early on with Coach Catalyst, and I've used in kind of my brick and mortars way back in the day, is one called ConvertKit. I think that's another nice one. You can get started there for free for a small email list, and so that can work well. I think it's fairly user friendly. So those would be the two that I would recommend right away. Supercoach CRM, just because it has our support team behind it. So I know what our support team can do. And so I know people have a good experience with it. And then it's what we use as well at Coach Catalyst. So I'm a little bit more familiar with it. It's how I send all my emails, all that kind of stuff. And then ConvertKit is the other one, which I think is a very viable solution. So those would be the tech platforms I would kind of recommend for most people. And then you just want your list, the list that you have in your email marketing, just kind of like you want it segmented a little bit. So we want to know who our maybe current members are, and these could be tags or segments depending on how the platform classifies them, right? But this could be something like my buyers, people that purchased from me but are no longer clients, right? We could call these alumni if you wanted to. And then people that are just on your newsletter list. If people opted in through a specific lead magnet, we want to know that a little bit, just to give us a little bit more clarity so we can provide the correct message to different people. And I don't think we need to get complicated to start. Those are just some good places to start. So we've got who opted into our list, right? We've got our current members, and we've got people that were paying us at one point and are no longer paying us now. Really simple, right? I'm going to pause here for a second. Teresa had a comment or a question inside of Facebook, so I want to get that answered. Learning new tech things keeps you learning, and yes, it can be frustrating at the beginning. It has been challenging for me at times, but I'm getting it. So that's an awesome, Teresa. I think that's an awesome mindset around it. Tech is new for everybody, right? Some people pick it up faster than others, just like anything, right? Some people pick up sports better than others. Some people pick up chemistry better than others, right? And just because we don't pick it up fast right away doesn't mean that we don't have capacity to do it. So I think that mindset around the ability to grow as long as we put in the effort, right? So I think that's awesome. So those are just some tech platforms that you guys can utilize to start with some email marketing if you feel like that makes sense for your business. I think everyone should have an email list, mainly because you own it. And then regularly communicating with that email list would also be beneficial. And just committing to a schedule that you can do. And how I think about email too is it's a way for you to provide value to people for free. It's a way for you to be able to help people for free. So that's how we should think about email. I know we call it email marketing, but it's more like email help. You're just helping in a different medium, right? And then if people want to go deeper, like we're giving them options to be able to go deeper with us with things like the super signature. But think about email as just like it's helping people, and you can help people at scale, whether you send an email to one person or to 1 million people. It takes about the same amount of effort. And so it's a nice scalable process for you as a coach. And then allows you to help the people that maybe don't have the financial means or something else to be able to work with you. Right. So I kind of think about this coaching realm in that, like, we should charge a very healthy rate for our services and work probably with less people, and then give the rest of the information away for free. And so those people that are willing to pay, like, they kind of serve you and allow you to pay your mortgage and buy food and do all those other things as a coach, which then also frees up your ability to offer a bunch of stuff for free, which then again brings people into the paid, right? And so people should pay for like implementation, right? And really education, I believe, should really be free, where people end up paying you because they need the accountability and the implementation and that kind of stuff. So, all right. So those are our first two. The next one I want to get into is we had this concept of a food diary come up a few times inside of the Facebook group. And I want to just talk through a few different ways that you can utilize that. I think a food diary is one of the most effective strategies we have as a coach, nutrition coach, life coach. So it could be a time diary if I'm a life coach, but we're going to say specific to nutrition, like a food diary. Because really, what is a food diary? It's driving awareness around someone's behaviors, right? And just driving awareness around someone's behaviors can start to create change within that person, right? It's super, super simple. Why does macro tracking work? Why do Weight Watchers work? Why do food journaling work? It's awareness, right? It's awareness around what we're doing. And when someone is aware and they have to be accountable to what they're doing, they start to align with what they want to do, right? So they maybe have less wine in the evening because they know they have to write it down. Maybe they don't have those afternoon or evening snacks because they know they need to write it down. Just the act of having to be accountable to someone else and write it down, it starts to change the behavior. So it can be a great way for you to help a client start making progress, but also give you good insight into what is going on inside of this client's life. How are they currently behaving, right? How are they currently eating? So there's a few ways to do this. And I like to have a couple ways in my arsenal to allow people, based upon their personalities, what's going to be the best for them. So the easiest one by far I found is to be photos. So clients just snap photos of their food. Everything they eat, a photo gets taken of it. Okay. And so they have a bite of a Snickers bar. They take a photo of it. Okay. So photos are really simple because the client can snap them throughout the day and then upload them all at one time in the evening. And then there's a couple ways inside of Coach Catalyst to do that. One would be the client just uploads them directly into the data tab. So they go data, they go photos, and they upload those photos. So that would be one way to do it. And as a coach, you can decide how you want them organized. If you want them organized like meal 1, meal 2, meal 3, meal 4, meal 5, or if you want them organized like breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack 1, snack 2, snack 3, whatever you want. You can organize them however you want. And then you have the client just upload that stuff into the platform. So you're going to get the awareness. It's really easy for them to use, right? Because they're just snapping pictures. Another way to do it is a form. You can use a form with photos, but you do need a different question for each photo. You would need a different question for each photo to be able to upload it in there. That's another way to do it. I like the form because then the client kind of indicates that they uploaded it. But if I was just going to have them upload into the data tab, I would have an action where it indicates that they uploaded their food photos. I probably have 2 actions. One is take photos of your food today. And the second one is upload photos into the data tab. 2 actions, boom, boom. And then I can easily see from mine as a coach if they executed it. And if they executed it, I can go in and review it and give them feedback. Okay, so that's one way to do it. We can do it through photos. Another way to do it, if clients would rather write or type, is just using a form, right? And then they just write in text fields. Text fields, type in what they did, right? Or they can dictate the text. That's another way to do it inside of those fields. And that's going to be a written format, okay, where they're going to write in and give me that information. I would do it in a form just because it's easy to keep it all housed into one spot. And another way that's a little bit, people probably won't think about this, but I've used this in a number of different ways, is to use a custom community. So to use a custom community, but that custom community only has one person in it, the client. And then what the client does is they go into that community, they take a picture of their food, and now we have the ability to add some context to it. Okay, so the client can write some stuff about the meal that they just consumed or that they're consuming, right? There may be things that you want them to give you feedback on, like what was their emotional state going into it, anything around that, right? And then you can comment right on that post, because each picture, each text is a post, and then you can comment on it. So you can go back and forth with that client and have a dialogue connected directly to that meal. And then it's going to be a running thread, right? Where every post, right, is going to be a different meal. So that's a really interesting use case for communities that I found to be pretty powerful if the client and I need to be going back and forth on something. And so that may not be the best use case for everybody, but some clients that really want to dig into stuff and are ready, willing, and able to do it, that can be a really easy way to communicate with that client and have all that history there. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that one. So if we just review, here's a few different ways. You can take photos and upload them directly into the data tab. We can take photos and have a form that the client fills out and upload those photos into. And then we map each of those photo questions to the photo folder that we want those photos to go into. 3 would be to use a form, but use text fields where the client can just go in and fill out what they ate. So they're going to type out what they ate for each meal. And then the 4th one is to use a community where the client is going to post in the community their food. They can write, they can take pictures, any of that in the community. And the client and you are the only people that are in that particular community. And then you can post or you can comment on their posts. So that kind of keeps it nice and organized in there. And just to give you guys a heads up too, we are doing a community 2.0 version. It's kind of in development, in design right now. So we are working on improving that feature of Coach Catalyst to make it a little bit more user-friendly and just make it better, right? We're always about trying to improve certain aspects of the platform. And that's one that we feel like needs a little TLC. So we're going to be working on it. So yeah, those are 4 ways that you can execute a food journal. And I think all of them can work, right? But it's really depending on that client. And then honestly, like the biggest factor too is the accountability factor. If you and the client agree that they're going to be able to do this, if they don't do it, you as a coach, it's your responsibility to reach out to that client and help them be successful with the thing that you're working on, because that allows you to have the information to do it. Oh, and I forgot about one more way. I'll give you a 5th way to do it, is to use a macro tracker. So use macros first. Have the client download macros first and have them enter everything into macros first. And then you'll get all the macro data as well. A little bit more tedious, right, to put in everything. But then that food log will automatically be in their nutrition tab as well. And you can look at it there meal by meal. So that is another way to go about it. But that is going to be a little bit more tedious, a little bit more time intensive. So you have to understand the client and what they have as their capacity to be able to do it. Because You could have the best solution in the world, and if a client can't actually execute on it, it doesn't really matter, right? So find the one that the client can do. I think having a few different tools in your toolbox can be really effective. So hopefully that stuff was helpful for you. I know I didn't get through everything today. I've got a couple more on here. We can get into the redundancy and adding value. We'll do that next week. Actually, I don't think we'll do it next week. I'm going to try and go on live next week. We're going to try and bring in Jen Brocksterman, and I want to talk about this new concept that's coming out in the CrossFit world called MetFix, I believe is the name. We're going to talk through it a little bit, what it all means, and if it makes sense for coaches, and just kind of unpack that a little bit. So hopefully Jen will be on next week to be able to discuss that with you guys. But yeah, that's it. Every Tuesday, noon Central, I'm here hanging out, answering your questions. So if you need help with Coach Catalyst, if you need help with business stuff, like this is the place, because you're probably not the only one that also needs the help. So in the meantime, get out there, take action, go find clients, and have a great rest of your week. And we'll see you on the internet. All right. Check you later.